2022, new year, new styles. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going over all of the new styles that are going to be super in 2022, and some of these are sort of like more intense versions of styles that we saw in 2021, but I think the majority of these styles are really like throwbacks, so I'm sure that already gives you a really good idea of what I'm going to be talking about later on, but without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Okay, I'm making myself comfortable for this one because it might take a little bit to go through everything because there are so many trends that are coming in super hot in 2022. And to kick it off, let's just start with the most obvious one, which is Y2K. We saw a lot of emphasis on that in 2021, and I think it's just gonna go full force in 2022. So if you're not already doing like the late 90s and the early 2000s hairstyles, those are gonna be even more seen and even more in. And if you catch me in like the back pigtails, like I really don't think that I can do it. I don't know if I'm gonna be that invested, but in terms of fashion, we're seeing so much. That's just such a throwback to late 90s and early 2000s runway. So for example, we're seeing a ton of midriff. And if you're like me and not super into that sort of thing, like I love my high-waisted pants, and I've talked so much about creating that shape that's just like super emphasized at the waist by just making that the most narrow part of your body, which it is naturally anyway. But in order to do that, something I think is so figure flattering is wearing something like a crop top and high-waisted trousers. In this coming year, we're gonna be seeing a lot of low rise, which kind of kills me because I love the high rise, but I also think like low rise, I'm just too cold of a person on average. Like I'm always freezing. So if I'm gonna be having extra low rise pants that to me are just honestly not that figure flattering, then I think this might be a year that I sort of go off trend a little bit more than I normally do. So obviously in that first trend, I sort of hit a lot of points with like more crop tops and midriff and low-rise pants. But moving on from that, something that we started seeing quite a bit in 2021 that's gonna be even more seen this year is cutouts and strappy detailed garments of clothing. So especially with tops and dresses, I think we're gonna see this the most, but lots of strappiness and lots of different skin showing in different ways than we normally see it. So instead of having things super symmetric with maybe just spaghetti straps, I'm talking like, I think it's Magda Butrym that does this a lot, but really strappy and very asymmetric and a little bit more of like a nod to sort of slouchy architectural. And if that makes any sense, maybe some of you will get what I'm trying to say with this one, but I actually really love this look and I'm totally here for it. Next, let's talk about the hit colors, and I think that it's really gonna be, first of all, anything bold, like a really saturated color, especially though lilac or lilac. My mom has always said lilac, so that's what I grew up saying, but everybody says lilac, so maybe I'm sort of the odd one out here, but this color, especially as I said, in like a super saturated version of it, is something that I think we're gonna see everywhere, and we've already seen it integrated into like outerwear since the weather is still cold in this part of 2022, at least in this half of the world. But I can definitely see a lot of different like summer looks. I mentioned in one of my recent videos the Emily in Paris dress that she wore when she was like at the marina when she was talking to, I forget what his name was, but the dress that she's wearing there I think is like a really good example of the color that I think is gonna be the it color for this year. But like I said, I think we're just going more towards bold and saturated colors only because for the past few years that we've been at home, it's been a lot of neutrals. And I feel like fashion really pushed the serenity of neutrals and creams and honestly not a lot of black, but I think we're sort of starting to get away from that as the world goes back to normal and as people are more excited about life and about fashion. I think that color is going to become more and more a part of what we wear on a daily. So I'll have included here a little bit of a reveal of a jacket that I just got kind of recently, like in the past couple months, and it's this vintage Saint Laurent jacket, which I think is stunning. And do I normally go for color? Absolutely not. Like, I'm a very neutral kind of girl. I love white, especially. That's like, if I could dress in one thing head to toe every single day for the rest of my life, it would be white. But something drew me to this color, and I think that that's just part of the world around me, just affecting how I perceive fashion, because as things change and as trends evolve, people's tastes change. And I always think it's so interesting to see how things that I loved last year, I'm either like obsessed with when I just liked them before, or I absolutely hate and I've gone the opposite way from loving them just a year ago, or sometimes it doesn't even take that long. But getting into color and more interesting tones and prints is definitely something that not only I'm going to be getting more into, but is something that I can definitely see the whole industry tending more towards. Okay, next, let's just dive into sneakers for a second, because everybody's been wearing sneakers. That's one thing that I feel like, especially because of the global situation, moving into the next few years, it's going to be a lot more geared towards comfortable shoes and comfortable footwear. But something that I think is definitely coming in hot is the sneaker trend that is more like vintage inspired. And we saw those with the New Balance releases that are like a nod to one of their past styles that was really huge. I'll have them linked in the description box below. And I can definitely see myself getting into that, because I agree, like as much as I love heels and I wear heeled boots, for example, during the winter and just sort of on a day-to-day because they're comfortable, but they're also very stylish, I can totally see myself getting into being more of like a sneakerhead, which I never pictured myself as, especially because I love to run. I always thought like running shoes and athletic shoes are for being athletic and for running and for that purpose specifically, and I would never wear them on a day-to-day. But I want to show you a new pair of shoes that I actually just got for Christmas. These were part of my Christmas gift from my husband, so a little mini unboxing here in this video. Let me show them to you. So I got the box, and they're from a designer called Xoxo Arigato. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So these you can find at various like third-party retailers. Mine were from the Bay, which is like a very big one here in Canada, but I'll just show you really quick. They did come with a dust bag, which I love, like a good quality dust bag like this one is great. It's got the name on the front there, and I just like when it has nice details, like proper finishes to it. But these are the shoes, and I'm obsessed with these. Actually, these would go really cute with my outfit right now, so maybe I'll pop these on. But these are them, and they have the little name there on the side, but they're super neutral because that's what I love, obviously. But you know what I'm leaning towards more in terms of colors is green. I'm crazy about anything green, and I think that there's a pair of Nikes that I'm probably gonna wanna get. They're like, I think they're called the Low Dunks, or there's a pair of Jordans that are very similar. But these for now are going to be what I wear most often for sneakers. I haven't actually worn them yet, because here it's snowing, but it's very little snow. So I feel like you definitely can still wear these out when there isn't too much snow on the ground. But these are the new additions and basically the start of my sneaker collection. I think they are like, they're a little bit Yeezy reminiscent just because of how this back goes out. They're very like sleek. They kind of have a little bit of like the Chanel sneaker vibe, especially in this colorway. But these, again, from Xoxo Arigato, something like that. I'll also link them in the description box down below, because they are very similar to those New Balance and they have that sort of shape to them. So if you're looking for something that has that style but is a little bit different, especially because this designer is not really one that I hear talked about a lot, but that's kind of what I prefer, is wearing things that are a little bit different, that aren't as mainstream. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I want a Birkin, so how mainstream is that? But wearing brands like this I think is really great because you're supporting something a little bit smaller, which to me is just a really big part of why I love fashion, and getting to explore new brands and discover different designers like Xoxo is something that I definitely want to do more in 2022. So let's get into the next trend, which is pattern and print, and especially layering patterns and prints. Like if you, for example, have an outfit where you've got a piece of outerwear that is very bold and very patterned, and you're wearing that on top of either a dress with a very bold pattern or of a very bold color that has some sort of detail to it that is just gonna be super on trend in itself. And I think in my Emily in Paris video, I talked about this and a few different outfits that she wore, but that's something that I think, especially because that show was such a hit, we're gonna be seeing a lot of what she was wearing in those episodes feed its way into the trends of 2022, and print is something that we saw basically in every single outfit of hers. So gingham and ditzy florals and bigger florals and abstract patterns and just like diverse prints. That's something that we're going to be seeing a ton of in 2022, because especially looking at some different runways, there were prints that didn't really align all into one category, and I think that's gonna be a huge trend in 2022, is just pairing things that you normally wouldn't see together in terms of pattern on pattern together and making it just a look in itself. So be prepared to see a lot of different closet staples in just like regular stores be in super bold and funky patterns, and just experiment with it, because fashion's all about having fun, and I think especially pattern on pattern is a really great way to take advantage of that. Now, depending on how many videos on my channel you've watched so far, you might know that I love handbags. I will always think that the handbag is the greatest accessory, and whenever there's a new handbag trend, I'm always super excited to see if I would want to work it into my outfits. And this year, I'm so excited because it seems like really structured box bags are going to be really trendy. So I'm super excited because different brands like Lillian Afshar are ones that I've mentioned before. They go by the brand Lafshar, but I love their bags. I love like the vintage lucite bags. I've looked at so many of those on Etsy, but also in terms of handbag trends, we're going very far away from our micro mini planty peekaboos and our Jacquemus Le Chiquitos, and we're heading more towards big, unstructured bags. I would say both unstructured and structured, but just oversized and bigger and more practical, because I feel like we're really noticing that practicality in fashion is totally necessary, just like we're wearing more sneakers and we're doing more comfortable footwear. Even with the Bottega Veneta tire boots, like that's just another example of practical, comfortable footwear that's very fashionable. But especially with handbags now, we're going away from the tiny micro bags, especially the ones that you could like literally hold with 2 fingers, and we're going completely opposite with big bags. So I'll have some of my favorites linked down below if you wanted to shop them, especially like the unstructured hobo bags, or something that I can actually see myself getting into, which is exciting because I love a good change. But that's everything for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm really loving these just like sit down, chill videos. But if there's anything that you would like to see on my channel, especially, just leave me a comment down below and I will be sure to go through them and maybe have that as inspiration for my next video. So I'll have a few more linked that will just be a click away at the end of this one, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye! And that's a wrap.